Hey everybody, it is Trags, Mike Petralia back with the Jungle Roar Bengals post-game pod, along with Richard Skinner of Local 12 and Local12.com, following an ugly, and yes, I do mean ugly, it takes on extra meaning here on Sunday afternoon at Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh. The Bengals essentially see their playoff possibilities wash down the drain. Certainly you could say they're on life support. Steelers 34, Bengals 12. The game, giving Zach Taylor some credit here, it was definitely competitive through three quarters, and then the game, in more ways than one, got off the rails in that fourth quarter, and the Steelers score a couple of defensive touchdowns and put this game away. Skinny, I guess we're going to have to start. By the way, before we go any further, we want to remind folks that this podcast, as always, is brought to you by the great folks at Prize Picks and All Good Home Improvements. Okay, that business is out of the way. Ja'Marr Chase and the incident with Jalen Ramsey, it's what a lot of people are going to be speaking about, already have talked a lot about in the aftermath of this Steeler victory. The incident happened on the field with the Bengals facing 3rd and 1 and actually 4th and 1 after a Kendall Milton run up the middle for no gain. Ja'Marr Chase and Jalen Ramsey got into it in the Pittsburgh secondary right around the 40-yard line, 38-yard line or so after the play. And what we saw up in the press box and people saw on TV were the two engaging in an argument, which they had before, so they had already each had one warning, if you will, one penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct. And then you saw Jalen Ramsey reach out and grab the mask and kind of half throw a punch at Ja'Marr Chase. What you didn't see, unless you were Austin Brisky, a local cameraman in Cincinnati, caught the expectoration, the spitting of Ja'Marr Chase in the direction of Jalen Ramsey. And given his chance to answer for it, Ja'Marr Chase after the game said, I definitely didn't spit in his face. I didn't open my mouth in his direction. And after the game, the tape said otherwise. When we started this NFL season, Jalen Carter of the Philadelphia Eagles was suspended one game for doing likewise to Dak Prescott of the Cowboys before a single snap had even taken place in the NFL season. Skinny, what are your thoughts on what happened between Jalen Ramsey and Ja'Marr Chase?
Well, Jalen Ramsey is a punk. There's no question about that. I mean, we saw him get under A.J. Greenskin years ago down in Jacksonville, and A.J. whipped up on him pretty good. He said apparently after the game that it all started with what he thought was a crack block from Chase, and they started jawing from that point forward. Then it escalated to what you said. You know, it looks pretty clear from that camera shot that he did spit on Jalen Ramsey. If the NFL believes that, if they see it like it's undeniable proof, he's not playing the New England game. I'll tell you that right now. He's going to get suspended. Jalen Carter didn't get suspended because, to your point, he got ejected on the first play, and the NFL said that was his suspension that game. So if you're wondering if it's tit for tat, it kind of is. So I'll be honest, I'd be surprised if they don't suspend him for the New England game. How about you?
I think he gets suspended if indeed the NFL sees what we saw on that camera shot. Again, CBS did not have an angle of that replay. Certainly the video board up on here in the stadium didn't show that, but it seemed pretty undeniable to me that he spit at least in his direction, and to me that's disqualifying enough. Thank you for correcting me, Skinny, because that is true. The NFL, I think, was going to suspend him, but then reconsidered, and like you said, he didn't even play a snap in that game against the Dallas Cowboys, so that was essentially, he was kicked out and considered his suspension. I think Ja'Marr Chase should be suspended if that was indeed the case, if the NFL views it as that. You cannot condone is the word. You cannot condone that kind of behavior, and even if you're trying to get under Jalen Ramsey's skin, that's not acceptable behavior. It's beneath the pale of a guy with such a great reputation in the NFL as Ja'Marr Chase. And Ja'Marr Chase, Skinny, he's a captain of the Cincinnati Bengals. He's not just any other player. He's supposed to be one of your leaders. One of your leaders cannot be doing that. And I think it would be a good lesson for the rest of the Bengals period, for him to have to sit out a game because of those actions.
And look, he has done, I think, such a great job of being as composed as he can be after losses, right? I mean, you can sense the frustration, you can feel the frustration, and he's chosen the right words at the right time, and he has shown some great leadership. And we've seen it; teammates have lauded him for it, but in that moment, he lost his cool too. And then, honestly, I don't know if he should have told us that he spit on him when it was clear that he did, but then to lie in the answer. I mean, how about just?
Well, that's
I'm
the
not going
problem,
to comment on it. Yeah, I'm not going to comment on it. That
I'm
would have
not
been the
going
right
to talk
thing.
about. It would have been, and we would have essentially taken that as a placid, for all intents and purposes, admission of guilt. But to lie about it the optics of it look even worse. And so we get beyond that play, and we'll see what the NFL decides. The Bengals are in rough shape. Period. They're 3-7. The season is obviously getting away from them. And that was one of the themes, I'm sure you heard it, Skinny, in the locker room, that this team is got only really pride to play for, because the way the division is setting out, the Steelers put themselves enough ahead of the Bengals today. And it looks like it's going to be the Bengals and Ravens for the AFC North. And now the Bengals just have to decide, what are they playing for the rest of the year?
I think the only thing you're playing for is to see who's going to be on this roster, especially on defense next season. I mean, I think that's the only thing you can do. I know that they tried the route today of having Oren Burks, a veteran, start alongside Barrett Carter instead of having two rookies play. Oren misses a tackle by the goal line. Barrett Carter looked as lost as he's been all season long, and that's saying something because he's looked lost a lot of times this season. Do you start to honestly? Geno Stone looks like he just doesn't want to be out there. And if he doesn't, and I know you don't trust Tyson Anderson and P.J. Jules or Dejon Anthony, throw him out there. I mean, you have nothing to lose at this point.
I don't understand the whole avoidance of Tyson Anderson. It's not like the guy isn't a great, a terrific, respected player in that locker room, meaning on special teams, he works as hard as anybody. He's a terrific tackler. What's this team's maybe not singular, one of its primary weaknesses on defense? They cannot tackle. That Geno Stone play, and we can talk about this on Darnell Williamson, the 300-pound tight end. Darnell Washington. Thank you. Down the left sideline. It's one thing to say it's hard to bring a 300-pound man to the ground. I do understand that. He had the boundary. And, when I asked him about that after the game, Skinny, he said, I tried to use the boundary. I tried to use the sideline. I got to do a better job of getting him out of bounds. Well, you do have to do a better job. I think everybody saw that. And it's why there's so much frustration among the fans. I think among the coaching staff, that if you can't make that play, you shouldn't even be out on the field.
I mean, this is a team right now that feels like it's a broken record of got to watch the tape and clean up our mistakes, and our tackling's got to get better. We work on it. Look, enough. I mean, it's you need to start really thinking long and hard of who you want on this roster next season, especially on that defensive side, and just how big the overall is. It's a joke. I mean, the Steelers today was the second biggest yardage output of the season for the Steelers, 343 yards. And I know, in theory, the Bengals actually defense did play better. They didn't allow 500 yards, right? But it also shows you how low the bar is, though. You've given up. The Steelers are a terrible offense. The last three games, they didn't even gain over 250 yards. You give up 343. Oh, by the way, with a backup quarterback playing in the second half. I mean, it shows you just how bad this defense really is, and it shows you then how bad this team is, because Joe Flacco throws a pick six, and then there's a scoop and score, and the Jamar Chase incident. This is a losing team with a losing. It's got losers on it.
Yeah, and unfortunately that's it. I'm going to go over some of the numbers here, Skinny, because they bear repeating. The Steelers were 7 for 13 on third down. You mentioned 343 yards. Mason Rudolph. It's not the 127 yards that really would concern me if I'm the Bengals. He was 12 of 16, Skinny. 12 of 16 in the second half in relief of Aaron Rodgers, who injured his left hand late in the first half, did not return. Mason Rudolph had the one touchdown pass. It was a short kind of dump-off pass in the fourth quarter. But they couldn't put any pressure really on Mason Rudolph. And when they did, they couldn't sustain the pressure. And I think that's one of the frustrating things for Zach Taylor as well.
Well, I mean, I'll just give you an example of a drive of what this defense is all about. Bengals kick a field goal to make it 10-9, and Pittsburgh gets the ball back. They proceed to drive 15 plays, 61 yards, use up 7.5 minutes. It ended in a field goal, but here's what the Bengals gave up along the way.
Yeah, I
a
know
third
where
and
you're
11,
going.
a third and 7, a third and 17. I mean, 3 third and longs you get them into, and you can't get them to the ground. A couple of those were just check down passes that they got yardage on. That just can't happen.
I understand giving space a little bit on those third down plays, but it wasn't just giving space. There were check down guys wide open. There was nobody within 15 or 20 yards of them, Skinny.
Yeah, then go to the fourth quarter. The Bengals made it 20-12 on that weird drive, the series in which Jalen Ramsey was ejected and Zach Taylor used weird timeouts, and the time management and clock management were just simply horrifyingly bad. But
we need to get to that.
Yeah, you get it back to a one-score game, though, right? So you got him 3rd and 11 on the Pittsburgh 43. He throws a check down to Kenneth Gainwell for 20 and a first down. You get him in a 1st and 23 situation at the 35. They pick up the first down to a 1st and goal at the 7 and end up scoring a touchdown that makes it 27-12. I mean, you had numerous chances to stop them. So you can't tell me the defense played, again, statistically, did they play better? Sure did. I can't, those are facts. But did they play better eyeball? No, of course they did not. You played an awful offense and gave up too many big plays at inopportune times.
That is Richard Skinner. Skinny, we know him as, of Local 12 and Local12.com. This episode of the Jungle Roar Bengals postgame pod brought to you by Prize Picks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with Prize Picks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 players' stats. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. Play Prize Picks to get action on football in more than 40 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Josh Allen's passing yards, rushing yards, and touchdowns? Well, now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Back with Richard Skinner of Local 12 and Local12.com here on the Jungle Roar Bengals postgame pod. Following a 34-12 loss, Bengals loss in Pittsburgh, drops them to 3-7 on the season. Maybe there's a blip on the in the emergency rooms, electronic equipment on the Bengals season, but it's not coming across the screen very vividly, Skinny, I would say.
No, it's done. Today was the death knell. This was it.
Yeah, I get that sense as well. I want to talk about that drive that you mentioned, the 3rd and 1, the Jalen Carter episode. The Bengals seem like they were, and Zach Taylor admitted that he came under criticism and should come under criticism for this. They, instead of just lining up and getting the half yard to keep the drive going at the Pittsburgh 44, the Bengals decided to try and draw the Steelers offside. They tried to get cute instead of playing power football against a power team in a power division. And to me, that's one of the problems with the Zach Taylor attitude. You've got to be more physical, line up, get a half yard, and then keep going.
Yeah, no, I agreed. I just don't understand what that whole concept was about. And you were burning timeouts and getting delay of games. I know it got loud, but I think to your point, it felt like that's all they were trying to do was draw them off sides, and you wasted timeout. Now you got lucky because Ramsey gave you the first down with the ejection, but you still burned a timeout, wasted a timeout when you were still in the football game at that point. And the whole day looked discombobulated, and especially that series of events looked totally like a disorganized team.
How did you think Joe Flacco looked? To me, he looked a little bit injured today.
Yeah, I didn't think he looked good. I thought he looked like he threw a lot of sidearm passes at times and wasn't as accurate as he's been, throwing behind receivers. I don't know what he tried to do on that pass that Kyle Duggar intercepted. He said he tried to wrap it around him. I don't know, was he going to throw a curveball or a slider? How are you going to try to wrap it around him?
Yeah, I mean, here's what I thought initially watching the replay of this, almost in real time. I thought that he felt T.J. Watt coming at his right side and was trying to get rid of the ball and rushed it and threw behind T. Higgins, who was coming open over the middle. If he leads T. Higgins, it's a big, big play.
Yeah, no, I agree. And again, I know the pass rush, it looked like he might have gotten hit. He wasn't sure if he got hit or not on the throw. I mean, to me, it was like he, to your point, got rid of it a little bit too early. And I don't know if he expected Kyle Duggar to move, but the pass literally went right to him.
Right. Flacco on the day, 23 of 40, 199, a touchdown and an interception. I would say this was probably his roughest game. Maybe,
no question.
You go back to the first half of the Green Bay game, and I kind of throw that out a little bit,
yes,
Skinny, because he was still learning the offense. And then the second half, he started to get into a rhythm. So, but from start to finish, I think this was his roughest game.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. And, he's probably got one more game in him, the New England game, and then it's on to Joe Burrow. But it's on to Joe Burrow with probably meaningless football to play.
That's too bad for this Bengals team because had they won this game, and you're playing the what-if game, but then you go into New England with a lot more to play for. You're only a game out of first in the division, and certainly with the end of the schedule being on paper favorable for the Bengals, you would certainly have a lot to play for. That hope is all but gone now.
All but gone, yeah.
T. Higgins had 3 catches, 63 yards on 8 targets. Jamar Chase only had 3 catches, 10 targets, 30 yards. After the game, both T and Jamar said that the Steelers switched it up in this game from 4 weeks ago. And, like a good coaching staff, you would expect them to do that after they got tuned up to the tune of about 340 passing yards in the first game. They were playing a lot of single high, double high, safety looks and not playing as much double-double on Jamar and T.
Yeah, they played a lot of man in that last matchup and paid the price for it. And today, to your point, that's what good teams do: change up the plan because the last plan didn't work at all. It blew up in your face. And today it was they're not going to beat us. And you saw, I think Noah Fant had 3 catches, and Tanner Hudson had 3 catches, and Andre Oshivash had 3 catches, and Chase Brown had 6 catches. And that's all well and good. They played their part, but this offense goes through Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, right? And so when teams take them away, you really don't have much of an answer, and this team certainly doesn't.
No, they don't right now. And, what did you think of Chase Brown today? 18 carries, 99 yards on the ground. You mentioned, so that's 18 touches there. He had 6 more on 8 targets in the passing game. So that's 24 touches for Chase Brown, Skinny, and I think he is coming into his own.
I do too. I thought he was going to have a breakout season, and it didn't materialize early, and I don't think that was the fault of Chase Brown. If you look at some advanced metrics early in the season, he was getting hit at an alarming rate behind the line of scrimmage. I mean, he was just having a hard time moving the football, and it wasn't because of him. And they found a little something in the running game now, and that's a good thing to see because you're going to have to lean on him, and he's got to be a big piece of this moving forward too. And I think you'll see him have a great last 7 games, whatever that means. It's not going to mean anything because this defense is still on the cusp of giving up probably another 4 or 5 30-point games before the season's all said and done.
And no question about that. He is Richard Skinner of Local 12 and Local12.com. All Good has been helping homeowners for 32 years. When looking for a home improvement company, the number one quality that myself and the lovely Deborah Ann were looking for when we were looking for a new roof, believe it or not, was trust. Yes, we wanted a quality roof, but we wanted to trust the people who were installing the new roof and the new gutters and the new leaf guard. And All Good, they came through big time. For the last 32 years, All Good has been trusted to help homeowners replace their windows, install new vinyl siding, install new gutters, and professionally install a new roof. Now with the leaves just about all on the ground, it's time to think about getting your home ready for winter with energy-efficient windows, a roof inspection, or even a gutter inspection. They'd be glad to come out to your home, Ed Grant and the great folks at All Good, and do a free inspection to see if your home is ready for the winter months. All Good offers interest-free financing with payments starting at just $99 a month and no money down. And right now, All Good is offering a 50% off sale. Buy one, get one free. What does that mean? Well, if you need 10 windows, you get 5 free, and you get an additional $500 off on the purchase by mentioning you heard it here on the Jungle Roar podcast. Maybe you need 20 windows. That means you get 10 free in that additional $500 off by mentioning that you heard it here on the Jungle Roar Bengals postgame pod. All during All Good's buy one, get one free offer. So call my friend Ed over at All Good Home Improvements for your free home inspection, 513-247-2900, or as always, visit their website at myallgoodhome.com. Back to wrap things up here on the Jungle Roar Bengals postgame pod following a 34-12 Steelers victory over the Bengals at Acrisure Stadium. Skinny's up in the press box. I'm down in the bowels. I am in the press conference room is where I am emanating this podcast from. And after the game, Zach Taylor talked about some of the positives that the defense showed in this game. I want to talk about one in particular, Skinny, Myles Murphy.
Yeah.
I thought he, for the first time, showed some definite push. He had 5 tackles in that first half. He had half a sack. He looked more active in this game.
Yeah, actually, he ended up getting credited for that whole sack. They took the other half away.
Oh,
from
I did
DJ
not
Hill.
see that.
So,
okay.
yeah, he had that. He had another quarterback hit. He finished the game with 7 tackles, and not just that, because sometimes tackles don't tell a story, right? I thought he was very. You noticed him today, and you rarely notice him in games, and so
Right.
yeah, if there's a little ray of sunshine from this, it was Myles Murphy showed a pulse. I need to see it more, but at least there's a starting point, perhaps. And maybe today was the starting point. Maybe it was nothing more than just a one-game blip on the radar, but it was there, and that was good to see.
He's a first-round pick, Skinny. They need
No
to
doubt.
see, for the rest of the season, does this kid have fire in the belly for a team that has really nothing left to play for except roster spots, like you said, for 2026?
Yeah, no, and it was a great place to start. Maybe it's the fact that he got regular rotation snaps. He's played a lot, but maybe today knowing going in that, hey, I'm going to be on the field until I ask to come out or they think I'm tired, and you get into maybe a little bit better rhythm. Whatever it was, he did show up, and I even wrote that as much as I was slinging darts at the rest of the team and stuff. You had to give a little bit of praise to Myles Murphy because I thought you noticed him.
Indeed. What about Cedric Johnson?
I didn't notice him. I know he was out there, but I didn't notice him much.
Yeah, well, he's got a couple of more games to play. A lot of fans are going to start wondering if they get blown out by New England, does Joe Burrow really need to play Thanksgiving night? I think that decision is up to Joe Burrow if he's feeling up to it.
Yeah, and I get it, man. All you're going to be thinking about as a fan over the last 6 games is don't re-hurt it, don't re-injure it, don't compromise next season because of it. These guys don't think that way. They don't think in those terms. If they're healthy enough to play, they play. That's what they do. That's what they do for a living. And as competitive as Joe Burrow is, and I'm not here to tell you if he's like, I'm just going to manage the pain, but I can play. No, this has got to be like, dude, you're pain-free. You're good to go. All systems go. Then I think I'd play him, and I think he does play. But again, if there's any sign of, if I take a step this way, it hurts, or take a step that way, but I'll manage it. Nope, we're not going to do that because these games are going to wind up being meaningless other than getting some snaps for people.
Let's say they get blown out by New England, and New England will come into town 9-2, number 1 seed in the AFC. Mike Vrabel has them playing hungry physical football, a term we haven't heard a lot in Cincinnati over the last couple of years, certainly the physical part. If they get blown out, I would not expect heads to roll until the end of the season. If heads were not going to roll after the New York Jets embarrassment and after the complete collapse of the defense against the Bears and what happened here in the fourth quarter against the Steelers, then the Bengals are going to wait until the end of the year to make any changes.
Yeah, I think they are too, and I'm still not sure those changes come. I don't know.
They may not.
I don't think this is a coaching staff issue. There were issues today. Like I said, the clock management it was inexcusable. There's some things. This is just a bad collection of players on defense. We've talked about that before. There's somebody responsible for that. That's the person that should pay the price for this. And then let's see what these coaches have. They are coaching with one hand tied behind their back on that defensive side of the football. It's a brutal group.
Well, I think a telling answer today from Zach Taylor was the one he gave to Kelsey Conway when Kelsey asked.
Quick answer.
Yeah, it was a quick answer, and he said, no, I'm not going to change. There's nothing we need to change. It's they need to tackle, and they can't tackle. So what does that come down to? Talent, right? Talent and desire. Some
Talent
people would say, want. But these players don't have too little of either, Skinny.
Yeah, I don't know how oblivious Geno Stone is because I mean what he said after the game that that defense played better. Again, yes, statistically you did, but you didn't. I mean, it's like it's almost like they're so averse to it, and every time you hear we're doing different things and we're doing different things in practice. Well, whatever things you're doing aren't working, or maybe again it's just you guys have players that don't have the desire to do it nor the ability to do it.
Skinny, what are you working on local12.com?
Yeah, I'm trying to tie it all into a bow. I'm finishing the column when we get done with the podcast, but my lead was it was a good thing that they wore orange pants today because Joe Flacco turned back into a pumpkin and the defense resembled parking cones at some points when it came to tackling. There was a lot of things to criticize in this game, it was ugly in a lot of ways with the poor tackling, the offense finally struggling under Flacco, that clock management situation, the Jamar Chase ejection, and now knowing why the fight was started. And again, trust me, I think Jalen Ramsey's a punk. I've seen it before firsthand with him and AJ Green. But that being said, Jamar Chase is going to pay the price for this. I got a feeling I would probably find out tomorrow, Mike, that he's going to get suspended for a game.
We'll definitely have news, I think, like you said, on Monday. And something else, Skinny, I think the coaching staff and the organization need to step up and say something once they see the film. Zach Taylor has got to open his press conference tomorrow with, that's not who we are.
Yeah, no,
it's cliche, but that's got to be what happens.
I agree with that, Mike. Yeah, there's no question.
All right, he is Richard Skinner. Be sure to follow his great recap stuff and his analysis on local12.com, as well as follow his material all the time at local12 on the local12 Skinny on the X. My name is Mike Petralia. We've got you covered on CLNS Cincy with a Y.com. Complete analysis and reaction from the locker room and from Zach Taylor here following a 34-12 loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers, dropping the Bengals to 3-7 on the season. Want to thank our sponsors as always, and that would be Prize Picks and All Good Home Improvements. Until next week, following the Patriots Bengals from Acrisure Stadium, team I used to cover, by the way, Skinny.
Oh,
did you know that? Keep that jungle roaring.